If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at Babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
And joining us now on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack here on the Red Apple Audio Networks. It's a good friend of the show and a dear friend of mine, Billy O'Reilly. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, TJ. Good to hear your voice.
Good. I can tell you right now, your voice is music to my ears. I love when you're on a show. You're smart, you're funny, you're cool, you're my buddy. And I'm just dying to talk about this, man. We're talking to the whole country here on the Red Apple Audio Network. And, a big subject this week has been the shutdown. And you know what? Actually, that's a Freudian slip right there, because one side's trying to take down the other, and it's a battle of wills. Where do you see this thing going? I'm sorry for the standard question, but I've got to push this boat off the dock in some way, shape, or form. But with this subject of this, there's a lot at stake. You've got Trump's reputation as a deal maker. You've got Republicans who were early on winning the messaging battle. Now it seems that the Democrats have made up a lot of ground on the messaging on the shutdown, or at least it feels that way. Somebody's going to win. I just don't know who at this point.
Yeah, it's funny. I typically feel better when the government shuts down. I actually feel a palpable sense of relief. but at this point in the shutdown, that's all gone. Any kind of relief is gone. Like, this is getting serious, and you start to, as a parent, you've got kids flying. My wife is flying. Like, it's become very real very quickly. Yeah. And I think you said exactly the right thing, TJ, is that it doesn't. You could argue who's right and who's wrong, and I think there's, I would say there's plenty of blame on the Democrat side, but the public doesn't see that. They blame who's in charge. Right. It's, who's running the country, and if things don't run, it's your fault. And the problem for President Trump is that his whole brand, right, has been that effectiveness, deal making, Roman rink. I can fix everything. I'll government is so bureaucratic. I'll just cut the red tape and make it happen. Yeah. And suddenly we're grinding to a halt. Yeah. And it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And again, it's something where they were doing a really good job. As recently as a couple of weeks ago, the Republicans had the messaging well in hand, and they had these moments where you had a couple of Democrats and a couple of Democrat senators. They voted for the continuing resolution, and that didn't help. All of a sudden, they were and the Republicans pounced on it and said, look, a couple of your colleagues voted for it. Why don't you? Let's just end this. You had some great moments with New York's Mike Lawler confronting Hakeem Jeffries, and that bit of theater was effective. It worked, So the Republicans were in an odd spot where they were winning the messaging. And the other part of it too was, during that time frame in the early days of the shutdown, Trump had a lot of winning going on. He was in Egypt, and he was ending, 1,000-year wars, and he was in the UK, and he was all over the place being feted. It's tough to flood the zone with great news when you really don't have any. No, it is, and the word that came up this week, and I've been waiting for it to happen. I thought it would be. I mean, the Trump administration would try to prolong it to year 4, but you're just waiting for when is the word lame duck going to come up? Right. And it popped up a couple of days ago. I'm sure that the New York Times threw it out there to throw it out there, but this is the kind of thing that could kick his second term into a different place, and he doesn't want to go there. Right. I think, the public, we go nuts when we travel. Yeah. I mean? It's like there's a beat for the New York Post on crazy travel stories. People going nuts. Yeah. So it's, and you push that with, also because people you got loved ones traveling, you worry about, planes falling out of the sky, you see the UPS flight go down, there's been a lot of concerns, and stuff gets real very quickly. Yeah. And so I think, he could get onto a dangerous track, and I think it would behoove him and Democrats too, but, we got to get the country running again. We can't do it without flights. And by the way, TJ, when did slavery become legal again in America? How do you force people to work without paying them? Isn't that interesting? We're hearing about all of these, federal workers showing up and working without paychecks. Everyone from TSA and the air traffic controllers, I think the post office was shutting down all of its branches for 24 hours just to sort of save some money, or I don't know, to reset, recalibrate. I don't know, but and that right there, that's right in the Democrat wheelhouse. They are going to play that. They're going to play that. Completely. There's going to be a million stories of lost packages and the medication that didn't show up, and that's real life stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not just stories. I mean, I think about with the air traffic controllers, and I was all in on Reagan, and in 80 when
when he fired the air traffic controllers for the temerity to want to strike, which I agreed with him.
Right.
But in the same way, I'm totally with the controllers now.
Yeah.
How do you force people to go to work when they can't feed their own kids or they can't put gas in the car? You just can't do that. I don't know how they work that into the contracts, but it's a lousy contract.
Yeah, yes, that's true. Somehow it's that.
Yeah.
We're talking to Billy O'Reilly on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick, 1-800-848-9222. And it definitely feels like, again, there's just now been a dearth of things. There's nothing for Trump to pivot to right now. There's, again, it's like Israel is just sort of like in a holding pattern. There's really no, he kind of dropped a little news. Hungary, he was talking to the president of Hungary, which is a bit polarizing. It's an interesting conversation to publicize. Yeah. But, in the midst of that, he's still dropping, looks like we might have a meeting with Putin. Okay. All right, great. But nothing really tangible. Again, nothing to pivot to distract with.
And you're right, and he's masterful at that. That's what he's best at.
Right.
He'll take anything. He can manufacture something, but he's really good naturally. He was good at that before he was president. He was good at that when he was a real estate guy in New York.
Right.
He could always come up with a story to go with. But right, it's becoming increasingly tough here. 100%.
And then there were the losses. On Tuesday. Democrats. They just don't seem willing to ever do the right thing. I mean, you and I both know plenty of Republicans who were at one point either never Trumpers or Trump drives me nuts, or I like his policies but can't stand the man, or there's people all over the place, and the Republicans have a tendency to fracture, and conservatives have a tendency to crack and divide, and I call that intellectual honesty. I like that about our side.
I do too, and I was early on. I was a big opponent of this president,
yep.
And I root for him now. I don't agree with everything. I don't like the tactics of a lot of things.
Right.
But the gains are unmistakable, and the will of this guy is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it.
And yet,
you got to say, go. And,
right. And yet, when I look at Virginia, it's absolutely maddening to me that now again, this guy, what was it, Johnson, I forget his name, but and good, but the candidate for
Winsome.
No, that was fine. That was just, you see, that's what I'm talking about. That's actually what I was going to compare and contrast was, okay, I understand that they've got to vote for somebody, if they're going to make, if they're going to cut their nose to spite their face and look past some egregious whatever, I can understand it when I don't even understand it, but I kind of get it when these Democrats vote for awful people when it's to flip a congressional seat or take a governor's seat. Okay, just like a lot of people would say Republicans would have done with this awful guy Trump to win the presidency. But when they're voting for the Attorney General of Virginia, when you are electing a guy who fantasized about killing his opponent and his kids, but that position is the chief elected law enforcement official in the state, that's what drives me out of my mind. And it's not like the Republican opponent was some kind of strident MAGA conservative. So it just brings me back to the notion that Democrats the ends justify everything for the left. The ends justify everything.
I think there's a lot of reasons for that party to be concerned about itself, or old-time Democrats to be majorly concerned. I'm sure you covered the Mamdani election to death in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
But that's the question shouldn't be who is Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah.
It's who is the Democratic Socialists of America.
Right.
Mamdani is just an apparatchik that's a very good talker. They spotted him. They brought him along. They worked with him, and he's a good candidate, and he won.
Right.
But the DSA is taking over cities across the country. You talk about that attitude of what you're referring to in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that radical attitude that is eroding the Democratic Party base. It's taking it over.
Do they get it? Do you think they really get it?
I mean, we're iron.
Do you think they really know? That like when they vote for, maybe some of them here, the Brooklyn kids, some of the, the Columbia students and the Upper West Side, just blindly liberal and crazy. But like out in the middle of America, do you think they understand what it is they're playing with here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with his plight? Aha! Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at Canva.com.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you're heading to the gym, the office, or just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has your back. So if you haven't tried it yet, head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at Babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
No, I don't think they understand it, and you and I talked about that on another program. We talked about that, about the polling among with young people, among young people on socialism and capitalism, and it's almost split down the middle. Yeah. And that didn't come from nowhere. That came from indoctrination in universities, and a lot of radicals from the 60s and 70s went into academia, and that's become a kind of a feeder route for the left. Yeah. And it's not happening by mistake. So I would say no, they don't fully understand what socialism means. They couldn't possibly, because if they saw what socialism really means, if they saw the child on the street with the distended belly, where it ends up, they wouldn't be singing its praises in rallies in the street and waving red flags. Good God, it's so embarrassing to watch as somebody a little bit older.
Yeah. It's just, you made a great point again on a program that we did elsewhere, another panel, and I'm sitting here saying at one point it feels like New York City has to hit rock bottom. It feels like some of these, not just New York City. It feels like New York, California, some of these places that are, Massachusetts, Boston, Los Angeles. And, just when you think they have hit rock, I mean, when I left Los Angeles 15 years ago, I thought I was getting out as they hit rock bottom. And I went back to visit a year and a half ago, and my God, it's even worse. And I just keep wondering, at what point do they all realize the damage they've done? I mean, Billy, Los Angeles is genuinely, it's street, tent city, street, tent city, street, Needle Park.
I mean, downtown Washington D.C. is like that.
Yeah.
It's right. Street, tent city. Incredible.
And yet the penny doesn't drop for these people that perennially just vote in happily either the same person or just another person carrying the same card. So I just wonder, is this, and when I said this the last time, when I say this about New York City hitting rock bottom, you came right back with, and we just finished fixing it.
We just, I mean, isn't it just extraordinary, DJ?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for those of us that have been around, I'm an old time New Yorker. I've lived here, you know, all my life. I'm 62. And it's like, we just went through this where New York was it was the ungovernable city. It was about to go down. Time magazine had a cover. It was finished. The death of New York. Yeah. We were all finished. Then everyone knows the story. Then Giuliani showed up and like the great miracle, and Bloomberg continued it, and we became like the envy of the world. What was this? The New York miracle, the broken windows, policing. It was like unbelievable. And then Mayor de Blasio comes in, a progressive who would be a democratic socialist if they were bigger at the time.
Right.
And it's literally as though he said, let's take every policy that works and end it.
Yeah.
Like, let's find out what works in the city and then stop it.
And then he was, and that's
what happened.
And he was reelected. And he was reelected. And remember, by the way, too.
Anyway, this is the guy who was working for the Sandinistas.
Yes.
I mean, he's a nice guy in person, but.
Right. And I've met him a couple of times too, and I walk away going, damn, he was nice. How many flipping Democrats are like that, right? You know, your friend of mine, George in Westchester, it's like, he's a rotten guy, but he's not a rotten guy, but he is, but he's not.
I'm going to say your name and that's it.
Right, that's it. TJ, how are you? Oh, don't call me by my name. I hate you. Talking to Billy O'Reilly, on another side of midnight. And you remember too, remember New York almost, when they were, I was coming back and forth between Los Angeles and New York at the time, living in LA when all of this massive cleanup was happening and, in the city. And it was almost where like New Yorkers were begrudging it. New Yorkers were like, okay, Times Square is now Disneyland. Times Square is now, I remember people saying, now I can take my kids there. Who wants to take their kids to Times Square? There were the M&M store.
Docile bar drinker of my life, but I remember that conversation popping up, and I remember wanting to like put the scotch down and just belt the guy. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you're walking through. You walked through Times Square before. I remember walking through with a girlfriend once. It was like it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was Sodom and Gomorrah in one neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it became. And then I remember people talking about the Disney store and the M&M store. That was a punchline. People were taking pictures. I mean, this is before social media, but I mean, people were talking about a Disney store in Times Square, and that became sort of like the standard cliche about
It was
quote
the meme
unquote
of the time, right.
about quote unquote what they did to New York City. That it was like too clean. Right? It was too clean. It was too safe. It was like, where can I go to score some smack? It was like, I'm sorry,
I miss it when you can zigzag the bodies on Times Square. Come on, you can't zigzag anymore.
It's the truth.
You're looking for a date, little baby. You looking for a date?
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Right. Smoke. I mean, now it's like
crack, VCR mess. Yeah.
Right. VCR. Yeah. Exactly. And it's all legal. And it's all, and we're going full circle though. We're going not 180, we're going 360. It's like, now it's like you are zigzagging the bodies again. You are, people, actually, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. My headache is kind of clearing up a little bit. You're doing that to me. You're kicking my endorphins in a little bit.
Bring you back to life.
Yeah, you are. Actually, no, genuinely.
You're waking me up.
Thank you. Here's the thing. I'm gonna give you one. I'm going to bookend these little things. Okay. We were talking about, Times Square, Disney store, Rudy, what are you doing to New York? It's too clean. And like 8 months ago, we saw that image of a woman literally, burned alive on a subway car. And right. I mean, image of Disney store. That's a joke. New York is too clean. 2025 or 4, a woman burned alive on a subway car, and we saw it because of social media. I mean, and then what does New York City do? They voted for even potentially worse than that. They voted for a guy who said, we're gonna cut back on the policing. After like a Game of Thrones real life image.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, oh my God.
And the thing is, like, the NYPD has been having a really hard time recruiting new candidates. I mean, it was at 40,000, in 2007 or something. I forgot. 40,000 officers.
Right.
And now it's down to about 33. And nobody wants to be a cop there anymore. It used to be a point of pride. Everybody wanted to be NYPD.
Right.
And now it's like, why would I do that? I can make more money and go into a safer place where the local elected support me.
Yeah.
And like, and if those cops, the NYPD was turning its backs literally in lineups when the mayor would come by.
Yeah.
They would flip around and turn their back.
Right.
And I think that might be an opening gesture for Mamdani, and perhaps it should be.
Yep. Yeah. Oy vey. All right. So listen, let me just, I know political prognostication is kind of overrated and it's a bit trite and it's kind of a gimmicky kind of thing, but I'm just curious. I'm not saying, Billy O'Reilly, tell us who wins the shutdown, the standoff. I'm not doing that, but I'm saying, what do you think about how this thing plays? Oh, I'm sorry. This was something that I meant to ask. In asking, how do you think this plays out? I'm not an X's and O's. I don't know the levers. I'm not, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
but funding bill and that stuff. Yeah.
But the whole filibuster thing. All of a sudden, you're hearing Trump calling to remove the filibuster, and there's all these parliamentary types going, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that because
thank you, Senator.
Because they're gonna use it on you. You're gonna wish you had it when they take the majority. I have never learned the upside or the downside to this. On the filibuster.
You're always going to end up in the minority at some point. The filibuster protects that.
Yeah.
And if you just think about the filibuster as a way to slow down radical legislation, whether it's radical right or radical left,
sure,
it's inherently conservative. The filibuster. You know what I mean? It's a way to moderate and pause and way to beat. And even though I've worked on issues where we didn't hit the 60, the threshold, and the cloture vote, and it drives you nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, why do you have to have a filibuster? We got more than 50.
Right.
But I think in the end, it's a good thing to have. I was really glad, TJ, to see Senator Thune and others stand up, and say to President Trump, no on this one.
Right.
They're right. They've got to live with this, and he's got a couple of years left, or 3 years left.
Sure.
The Senate's going to be around, hopefully, for a long time. And those rules need to stay.
Indeed. All right. Billy O'Reilly, you are the best. Thank you for staying up and joining me this morning on another side of midnight. And we'll definitely do this again really, really soon. Unfortunately, we're friends and it's difficult for you to say no.
Sounds good.
Sorry. All right, Pally, have a great rest of your Sunday. Thank you.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC.
It's easy to get stuck reaching for the same familiar fruits and vegetables, even when you know a colorful variety is key. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements don't replace fruits and vegetables, but it makes it easy to add more variety to what you already eat. With 31 ingredients that are whole fruits and vegetables, switching it up is easy because we've already taken care of the hard part. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code POD.